Hello and welcome to One United. And we're sorry, first of all, for the long pause that we took and we take whenever United start playing badly. And sadly for us, half the season we were in shambles, so we didn't come live because we wanted nothing to do with the club. So we didn't want to talk about it, so we didn't come live. And eventually it got too big of a thing for us to come live and talk about this. But now we have to because we're finally trying to continue and upload more. So I'd like to welcome Wali Anshuman to the podcast once again. Familiar faces after a long time. I don't know how many people will watch it, but still. First of all, welcome Wali and Anshuman. A long time. More than I think it's been like fucking 6 months. But last time we came live, I don't know, three,
It's
four months
it's
at
been
least.
so
More or less.
it's been so long that I'm married now, so you can imagine how long it
Yeah,
has
yeah.
been. So
Wali had his marriage, had his honeymoon, came back, is again working on a job. It's been that long a time. So you can guess. Uh, and we are here to talk about the season, future expectations, Eric Ten Hag. We came live on Twitter in Spaces. You can follow us there as well if you want to catch up on things. And we also came live to talk about United. And when Eric Ten Hag was signed, that was the main purpose of us coming live. We couldn't make it to YouTube, but now we are finally talking about it on YouTube. So, welcome, Anshuman. What are your thoughts about everything regarding our delay and everything? How we just delayed our coming live on YouTube?
Yeah, well, I don't mind us not showing up because none in our club did, at least in our men's team. So I can't really say anything about the
You
women's
noticed
team
the
because
thumbnail.
they put up
Have you noticed the thumbnail?
they did a very good show of themselves. So yeah, so they didn't
You
bother
saw
showing
the
up the
thumbnail?
men's team. So
Anshuman, have you seen the thumbnail?
I haven't no.
I sent it on WhatsApp.
I read, I saw it.
So,
Uh, I haven't
Mm.
received it. Oh
It's on
yes, this one
WhatsApp.
I
no,
have. Yes.
so
I have.
I did it purposely because our main team didn't deserve to be there. So I
True.
I put up the team that deserved to be there.
Good for
I
Yeah,
think
that.
that's fair.
of course. Yeah, right. I think 65,000 people were there at Old Trafford to support the youngsters over there because they showed more heart, more
Because
courage, and
they showed more heart. Matlab,
and they
the
eventually
Hannibal
won the.
incident, even the Hannibal incident, it shows people were just wanting someone to show up and perform for the club. Hannibal, a new guy, he showed some heart. He showed some kind of intent, and people were cheering him. People were backing him. This is what we need. We don't. Even if you're playing shit football, even if you are not performing at all, at least show that the badge on the front of the shirt matters to you, the crest matters to you, and that's what it was all about. Anshuman, regarding the U team, there are many promising players. There are some players who are coming from newly promoted teams who will be back with us, who we think could play a part in our team. And there are many transfers that need to happen. But first, we'll talk about the season. I'll give you the platform because you will have some words to say, I guess. So, what do you think about the whole season? Give us a review of your own, and then we'll add on to things.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of expectations going into the season because of how we ended the last one. And we know that we had a lot of discussions all over last year that could United season be considered a success if we did not win a trophy? And my argument was, well, the way we have performed to a certain degree, yes. And it doesn't matter whether at the end of the day we would have won Europa League or not, because what the United board did at the start of this season made it pretty sure that United were not going to go anywhere that was up, because they start by giving Solskjaer a new contract, so they are securing an asset that does not need securing. So that's a problem, because that give players an idea that this guy is not here to for a shorter term. This is in a longer term, and if you don't know what that longer term is, then players just get even more confused as to what the direction is. And then they signed two defenders that they needed, two players that they needed to onboard. Rafael Vahan, who is a better fit, better better complementary defender to both Maguire and Lindelof. and you signed Jadon Sancho. Perfect. Manchester United still needed a midfielder who
Rafael
could
Varane.
control the midfield.
I think Rafael
And
Varane.
yeah.
So
And
you said
United
Jadon
needed to
Sancho.
buy midfielder, and they had to sell players. I have been lobbying the sale of Paul Pogba for the last year and a half. I had that 17-minute rant on this very podcast, like roughly a year and a half, a year ago. And that I also said the same time. Great player. I like him. I like United as well. Best solution for both parties was to sell Pogba and make what we could of the sale money, and sell Lingard as well. We did not do any of that. We did not buy ourselves a midfielder, and at the end of the day, buy ourselves Cristiano Ronaldo. And that was it for me, really, because whatever. I was already very apprehensive about the way we started the season, because even before Cristiano arrived, the way we won against Leeds, okay, that was a very optimistic performance. The pre-friendly match that we had with Everton, which we won 4-0, that was a very optimistic performance. But then I think we had one a nil-nil draw or a 1-1 draw against Southampton, and then we won 1-0 against Wolverhampton, and that was the time when Cristiano's sale was announced. But
Announced,
in
yes.
those two matches, the one thing that you noticed was Manchester United's midfield was completely overrun. There was absolutely no control. We just could not hold the ball because neither or none of Scott McTominay, Fred, and Bruno were ball holding midfielders. And this is something that Manchester United needed to look after. And even if you are not adding any players, it is incumbent upon the coaching staff, what Solskjaer, Carrick, and McKenna were doing, to come up with something to tweak it a little bit. Which Rangnick did eventually, and I'll come to him afterwards. And but the midfield had no control, and the problem here was that we went into this new season with very little tactical updates from the previous one, and teams figured us out because that's what they do. Every team have all these analysts who are going to look at the matches they played with your team from the previous years, and they're going to find out little ways to deal with you, which they did. And it became very evident even before Cristiano arrived that Manchester United were going to have a very hard time. And then you bring in a player that will be very good. He'll give you all the goals. He'll defy age and everything, and he'll be the best player in your team. But the team will not succeed. And that was the argument going with Cristiano's sale all the time. He will not be a bad player. He will succeed and he'll be the best player. But your team will not succeed. That is the and Cristiano's critics did not say this because we were experts, because we were clairvoyants that could see the future. No, we just saw what happened at Juventus for the past 3 years. That Cristiano broke all sorts of records under the sun, and but still he was at a club that was shambolic, being run poorly. So he couldn't really do much about what happened behind him. So that was what was to come. And Solskjaer's contract extension did not help anyone. It just only exacerbated all the issues that already had. Ronaldo's arrival already worsened the situations that was already going to worsen. And in another lifetime, in another timeline, maybe Solskjaer could have gotten a third season out of this, but he couldn't. And things just headed to that inevitable end when we suffer that 5-0 victory to Liverpool, 5-0 defeat to Liverpool, and eventually lose to Watford. And that's when Solskjaer's tenure came to end. It had become an inevitability. I liked Solskjaer's time. I have been the first one to say that I wish they did not give him a full-time contract, but he outdid himself. I've been saying this for a long time that he's not a fraud. He understood the club. There is merit in understanding the club, but you need to know when to make those hard decisions as well. And one of the hard decisions was to not give Solskjaer that contract and let him see this final
Do
year
you
out. And if
think
it doesn't work out, then fine, it doesn't work out. Yeah,
uh, do you think that the United job came too early for Solskjaer in his managerial career, and now it will be
I
very
don't.
hard for him?
No, I don't. Because the problem is that with that argument is that everyone say that Solskjaer doesn't deserve Manchester United job because no one else wanted him. And I don't really subscribe to that idea. There's nothing inherently wrong with one personality not working out in many other environments. That's perfectly fine. Like Victor Valdez as a goalkeeper would not have worked out in many other places other than Barcelona. But he was good on the ball, so he could create that
Yes.
playing out from the back tactical philosophy of that. Barca only
Yeah,
Barca would want.
he was not a very good shot stopper.
Busquets would not. Yeah, Busquets would not have been rated very highly, but he is one of the biggest, one of the most important players of Barcelona even right now, and he is their biggest challenge right now as to how to replace him. So this idea that in general, the idea that Solskjaer couldn't succeed and shouldn't succeed at United because no one else want him. It's not something that I subscribe for, quite simply. So I didn't think it came at a very it came very early for him. He has been in this managerial for in his managerial career for 10 years. He did a pretty decent job at Molda. I think if you have read Jamie Jackson's book on Solskjaer, the first half of that book is quite interesting because it chronicles how Solskjaer came from a village in Norway and how he always rose up to the challenges. And one thing he always had to deal was the fact that no one really thought he could do much, and he would always outdo himself. So that is basically what he did at United. And United could have handled this in a much better way, but they didn't. So their actions came back to bite them, and Solskjaer was sacked. And the next decision, what ideally United wanted in that moment was someone to come in, someone like Carlo Ancelotti, who could come in, just take control of the dressing room and salvage the season. That's what they needed from the managerial point of view. As far as the hierarchical situation is concerned, we've been here all over the time, 2014, 16, 21. We all every 2-3 years we come into this discussion all over the time again that United need to make those changes, but those changes are never coming. So we are always in this cycle. So when they announced that Ralf Rangnick was going to arrive and he was going to be doing that in some sort of way, there was a lot of optimism. Not particularly for the managerial post, but what he was given as a consultant for the 2 years, because we looked at it and we had our questions. So like, okay, we don't know what consultancy means because you already have a football director, you have a technical director, you have Richard Arnold coming in, and you have John Murtough as football as the new CEO. So we don't know what the consultancy would mean. But the wordings that United provided us in the moment, and given Rangnick's track record in establishing good footballing structures even after he leaves, gave us that optimism that, okay, if United could use their cards right, then maybe we could make something of this. As far as his managerial credentials are concerned, there were challenges. First of all, because he had managed very less over the last 10 years. Okay, he took Schalke to the semi-finals in 2011 when we faced them in the Champions League, and he did a decent enough job with Leipzig for a little while, but that was about it. He didn't really do a lot of coaching. And even after that, the coaching that he does, his principal ideas of collective football and pressing, these are this is a lot of idealism for football. And our team was not built for anything, because this is a hodgepodge of players that that have been acquired over at least 3 different managers now, and even 4 if you include Van Gaal. So you can't really, if you include Van Gaal, it's 3, and even Mata is there, so it's moist, it's 4. So so you bringing Rani into a situation and asking him to also salvage the season, and but he's not exactly the kind of manager who could work with these sort of players. So he has 2 options. Either he can teach them the basics of collective football, so that things will become easier for them for the next manager, because no matter who arrived, Eric Ten Hag or Mauricio Pochettino, they all like to play collective football, right? They don't like this individual first and team afterwards. They will always try to play a certain style, which was not the part of Solskjaer's football. Solskjaer's football was, we'll put the best players on the pitch and we'll see where it goes. This was not Rangnick's doing, but he tried to do that. So he could do either 2 things. He could either try to salvage the season, or he could give them the basics of collective football. And he tried to do that. He tried to implement that 4-2-2 style of system that he has tried to do in Leipzig as well, which was very successful. But it wasn't able to be implemented here because, first of all, our most stable midfield of Fred and McTominay still has that good old problem of not being able to hold the ball. And if you include Cristiano Ronaldo in a 4-2-2, then you're not going to get a collective team, because he's not going to press, which is not his fault. He has never really been a pressing player, but you are now trying to incorporate him into the system that he's never going to fit in. So that again creates a problem. And then again, you are restricting how many creative players you can include, because Rashford is having a down season and Maguire is having a down season, and Ancho and Bruno Fernandes, only one can be included in this setup, because you at the time Greenwood was also there. So you are also reducing those numbers, and you are also trying to implement a system that can really not help. So Rangnick very quickly realized that this was not going to happen. And then he implements a 4-2-3-1. He brings back the Bruno Fernandes into that number 10 role, and he tweaks it slightly, because if you could notice, the one thing that he told to the midfield was, this is something that I noticed, and which was that he told McTominay that you just stay behind a bit compared to Fredge. So previously it was Fredge and McTominay. They were
Yes.
checking each other out. They were trying to maintain the midfield. If against possession heavy systems, they could work brilliantly. They could just spread out wide, create a defensive block, create those pressures, and create cut out the passing lanes. That thing they can do. But what they can do is hold the ball. Neither of them are of that ilk. They are both number eights, and they're both number eights who would work better with the likes of Nemanja Matic or Juan Mata if they were 10 years younger, which they are not. But again, that creates a problem. So Rangnick gives McTominay this little tweak that you stay behind, you'll be a bit of a number six because you don't really have another option. So you'll do this role and you'll do it alongside Fredge. Now that's all well and good, but the problem is that his position, McTominay's positioning, is not very good as far as being a number six is concerned, because that is one of the most challenging positions on the pitch when it comes to being a number six, because that becomes the anchor role for the rest of the team as well. So now you are using a player as a number six that really cannot do that job. So what happens is you have someone in the defense line. You have someone like Harry Maguire, who is the progressor from the back, who's already having to deal with the fact that your goalkeeper David De Gea, who is not very commanding of his box, who is not going to come out and play that modern day goalkeeping wala role, because he simply cannot do that. That is not the goalkeeper he is. And you are particularly not having a good season yourself. You are the captain of this team. A lot of pressure is on you already because you are a senior leader for England's team. You have been playing your ass off over 120 matches. You have been taking injections and you've been playing through injuries, and that 80 million price tag is still hanging over you. So there is a lot of psychological pressure over Maguire already, and he has to take care of this situation as well, in which if he finds oceans of space between the defense line and the midfield line, because McTominay is leaving behind all sorts of spaces, he feels the need to be able to be that person in which he needs to get inside there and he needs to close that gap, which just opens a defense line. And because De Gea is already back in his own defense line, on his own goalkeeping line, not really wanting to come forward, that opens another gap. So these are just examples of situations in which individual issues are going on, and our team is just not able to
No,
perform. And
it
this is
was
a
more of a
this is a
systematic failure. A whole system collapsed because we were not ready for this kind of football, and maybe what you're trying to say is that we had too much problems to be covered by 2, 3 megastar signings that we were
it
looking
was a
forward to.
it was a mix of everything, because we had individual challenges as well, and this training regime that now we can talk about that reports as well, that reports that came out that Manchester United players were groaning about training. Now that is a tabloid report, because there is nothing in that report that should be surprising to anyone who's even giving 2 minutes of thoughts to this, because you are working under Solskjaer and all of a sudden a new manager comes in who is diametrically opposite to your previous manager. So obviously it is a change from your daily routine. It's going to bring a difference. So if you're not finding it hard, then it should become an issue it should be a concerning issue.
Mm.
Otherwise it should
If
not be.
what is
So that was a
then
tabloid report which really should not have taken that as much traction as it did, but that is Manchester
but that is
United and
Manchester
tabloid
United.
reports
Yes,
for you.
yes,
Yeah,
that is
that is just
Manchester
what it
United.
is. Yeah. So we had that issue with Rangnick. So he very quickly realized that in coming mid-season, he's not going to have that much time to
But
teach his
Anshuman,
philosophy to these players. Mhm.
Anshuman, rather than us discussing the whole situation that we already know about,
Mhm.
let's take a back and forth kind of back and forth kind of approach. मैं questions पूछता हूँ
Mhm.
and then you'll be able to answer better, because rather than
Okay.
you going on and taking it a very long way, because we can talk about this individually for 20, 30 minutes, but it is of no good.
Mhm.
And I think more of a back and forth system would be much more healthier and better for anybody who watches it later on as well. So, what my situation with the whole Ragnick thing was, I was the first one, I think, in our group in the chat that we were talking to each other in, that Raf Ragnick is the man. Everybody wanted someone. Everybody wanted Conte or someone. I was very heavy on Ragnick, and I still think that it is one of the most crucial stages that Manchester United go through, Manchester United went through. और उसका रीजन बहुत सिंपल है कि I think United couldn't achieve under Ragnick what they were playing for, yet how they were playing. क्योंकि I remember matches where we could have easily sorted out teams, हम लोग आराम से जीते, but because of something, I don't know, our star players just कोलैप्सिंग एट द क्रूशियल मोमेंट्स, फाइनल थर्ड में हमारा फिनिशिंग बहुत ही पुअर, और उस चक्कर में हमने बहुत पॉइंट्स ड्रॉप किए. So do you think that also undermines Ragnick's term? Because I think he did a good job. He made us play much better football than we were playing in the first half of the season. But it's just that because the output was so less, the matches उतने हमें win column में उतनी wins नहीं दिख रही हैं, goals नहीं दिख रहे हैं, तो people forget how better our team played under Ragnick.
Yeah, I mean the reason for that is that we could not maintain that form, because starting में with Rangnick's football, the only thing that we were talking about is that United are playing well, but they are playing well in halves. या तो पहले हाफ में खेलेंगे या सेकंड हाफ में खेलेंगे, लेकिन एक हाफ होगा जहाँ पे they were just discombobulate. So that was an issue. So, and that issue happened because he came in mid-season. He's trying to implement this 180-degree wali training on a set of players that just completely are not going to work with that, and he's trying to do that in the middle of the season. He's not going to get new players, and this he's also coming into an
क्या
environment
स्ट्राइकर
where
ना
players
मिलना
have this
क्या क्या स्ट्राइकर ना मिलना भी एक बहुत बड़ा रीजन था, क्योंकि उसने बहुत क्लियरली आके बोला कि आई टोल्ड देम इन जनवरी लास्ट डे पर भी कि आई आई नीड अ स्ट्राइकर, कि मेरे पास कोई नहीं है ग्रीनवुड का तब तक. The whole thing had happened in the last day. Obviously it is very unfortunate the way it happened, and obviously we want justice to prevail, but we are talking strictly Greenwood as a player. We are not talking about him as a human being. He was an asset to United before the whole thing happened. Right now, I think every one of us, our stance is that he shouldn't play for United ever. I think that is what, at least I believe the three of us here, we believe that he shouldn't play for United ever, and United should cut ties with him as of the moment. And my question is regarding Greenwood as a player. I think he was an asset, and क्योंकि रैंगनिक realized कि यहाँ पे इतने गोल से ये चले गए हाफ सीजन के, उसको तुमने मिडफील्डर खरीद के नहीं दिया, स्ट्राइकर भी नहीं दिया लास्ट में, लिंगार्ड उसको नहीं चाहिए था, उसने ऑलमोस्ट बोल दिया कि लिंगार्ड तू जा, मेरे को नहीं चाहिए, तू नहीं खेल रहा है मेरे सिस्टम में इतना. और फिर भी द क्लब फोर्स्ड हिम टू स्टे, क्लब लेट हिज कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रन डाउन, अगर बेच दे कुछ पैसा भी आ सकता था शायद. So I think, don't you think that these all factors also contribute to Ragnick's term not being counted as much as he was aspiring for?
Yeah,
Anshuman, you there?
to be very honest, yeah, मैं जब
Yeah,
Ragnick आया था
I am
like
here. I'm
Q1,
here.
I
I'm
think
just
right
having
before
battery
National
issues.
Academy.
So, Bali, you go.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well, Wali will talk. Yeah,
yeah,
Wali,
yeah.
tell me.
Yeah, so what I thought was that was a very sensible appointment first and foremost. And initially, यार मुझे लग रहा था कि I think it should be better for us if we sign Antonio Conte, because that would have been like a proper Manchester United board signing, because they were big fans of Jose Mourinho, and Conte was also like his trajectory was on the up, and he's like one of
They
those
are not
managers
big
who
fans of Mourinho. They were fans of big names coming to the club.
exactly. So
They
that's what I meant.
are.
तो मेरा मतलब वही था, तो मुझे लगा कि ठीक है, we might get him for 2-3 seasons, or it might work out after that. Let's see what happens, because
कुछ
we
ट्रॉफीज
are
मिल जाए
starting.
शायद.
We haven't won anything.
Yeah,
Probably the ruthless attitude will be back. Probably some players will be out of the window. Probably हम जीतेंगे बड़े teams के against. But वो नहीं हुआ. We missed the Conte train. Then I thought, okay, fine. I think we're going back for Pochettino. We might have to accept that. लेकिन जब Rangnick हुआ, it was too good to be true. The reason why I'm saying that is, although some people might think that it's a joke, क्योंकि ये एक footballing decision था first and foremost. It wasn't a sexy name.
जो
United ऐसे
बहुत
usually
जो पिछले 10 साल में
exactly.
हमने देखे नहीं जैसे डिसीजंस.
Exactly. United usually अपने आप को ऐसे decisions में associate नहीं करती. So it was a sensible decision that they were keeping him as an interim for 6 months, and after that consultancy, which didn't happen for I think reasons we might know. The club is rotten. चाहे कुछ भी हम. So the end of
He
the day,
was
it
too
was too
blunt
good.
for his own good.
It
He
was
was
it
too
was
blunt
too
for
good
his
to be
own
true.
good.
एंड ऑफ द डे हम यही सोच रहे थे कि रैगनिक आएगा, कंसल्टेंट भी बनेगा, टेन हैग भी आएगा. इट वाज टू गुड टू बी ट्रू. एक चीज तो बिछड़नी थी, और वो हो गया था रैगनिक का जाना एज अ कंसल्टेंट. एंड दैट वाज द पार्ट व्हिच आई वाज मोस्ट एक्साइटेड फॉर, because
Yes.
he's a football man. He's built clubs in the past. He's brought in players. He's brought in managers. He's mentored them. He's been a inspiration of sorts. Like Marcelo Bielsa was for Leeds. Some might say that Marcelo Bielsa hasn't done a good job for Leeds, but at the same time, if you look at the way
I
that
don't
he's
know.
promoted them, they were irrelevant once upon a time.
Yes.
He brought them back to the Premier League,
Not very
and
far back. That too not very far back.
exactly, he brought them back to the Premier League to an extent. They played some excited, fearless brand of football. Yes, of course, it has its disadvantages as well, but he stuck to his guns and he got sacked. Fair enough, but that I think I measure Ralph Rangnick to that extent as well. वो बनाता है, वो डेवलप करता है, वो उसने यहाँ पे आके आई थिंक डिफरेंस बिटवीन रैग्निक एंड Mourinho was Mourinho whenever he had a problem, it looked like it was his problem and he was the one who was bitter, who was sour, who had a problem with the players. Over here, Ragnick, he was talking on behalf of the club, and it was as if a fan was within the club, and he was stating what all is happening within it. It's an open heart surgery. We need everything. Everything needs to change from this to that to that to this, and I think board members and players को eventually वो पसंद नहीं आया कि उसने बोला 10 players को replace करने पड़ेगा. No one likes that. And they eventually stopped playing for him. And like you said, Paritosh, February का month था. February में I think there was a stat that Manchester United has created the most number of chances after Manchester City, and have wasted the most number of chances in that calendar month.
तो
And
एक
उसी
मैच
time
में
पे
आई रिमेम्बर, एक मैच में साउथहैम्पटन वाला गेम था, आई डोंट रिमेम्बर व्हिच, वी हैड क्रिएटेड लाइक 30 ऑड चांसेस और हम एक भी स्कोर नहीं कर पाए थे. I don't know which
exactly,
game
that's
was
what
it.
I mean. That's what I mean to say. Like if we would have converted our chances back in February, we would have been in top 4. और फिर एटलेटिको मैड्रिड के साथ भी अगर तुम देखे, फर्स्ट लेग वाज decent game, 1-1 draw हो गया था. सेकंड गेम में after we lost that, our season was done there because we had nothing to play for. The players had
we
lost
had
their
nothing to play
heads.
for.
The players had
इवन
lost
एक
their heads.
अगर हम लोग एटलेटिको वाला एक मैच कुछ लेकिन आई डोंट थिंक वी वुड हैव बीन एबल टू गेट पास एटलेटिको. दे वर टू
Yeah, I know
डॉगेड अ
we
टीम.
wouldn't have, but I think they would
उन्होंने
have been.
सिटी को जब, if they made City suffer, how will a United side who are known to not break down teams, who are known to especially falter against low blocks, वो उससे एक्सपेक्ट करना कि वो एटलेटिको को ब्रेक डाउन कर देगी. उनका रेजिलियंस और उनका स्टाइल जो कि अभी से नहीं 10-15 साल से यही कर रहे हैं, वो जब से सिम्योनी के अंडर
There
है
were
वो
there
दे
were
आर डूइंग द सेम थिंग.
उस मैच में चांसेस थे तो, बट यू नो शिट हाउसरी की बात होती है. एटलेटिको आर मास्टर्स इन
हाँ,
दैट टाइम
नहीं,
वेस्टिंग
इट्स
एंड ऑल
आल्सो,
दैट. दे डिड
नहीं,
दैट और
आल्सो आल्सो बिकॉज़ वी weren't कैपिटलाइजिंग. अगर हम लोग
या
जैसे
वी डिड.
इफ वी वर लाइक, जैसे हम लोग अगर हम जो सोल्शा का, अगर हम पिछला सीजन का लास्ट के कुछ गेम्स देखें, जिस तरह से हम लोग चांसेस अपने ले रहे थे, क्योंकि मतलब वी वर नॉट प्लेइंग आवर बेस्ट फुटबॉल,
या
बट वी वर स्टिल एबल टू
बट वी टेकिंग.
फिनिश चांसेस, वी वर स्टिल एबल टू आउट परफॉर्म टीम्स, एज आउट टीम्स, और वो कहीं ना कहीं लैगिंग लग रहा था. तो आई
एग्जैक्टली
थिंक
यार.
that is one of the reasons why United faltered big time. क्योंकि
एक
uh, क्योंकि मेन प्रॉब्लम, मेन इशू वाज कि यहाँ पर बहुत सारे प्लेयर्स भी रेडी नहीं थे. इट वाज एन अमेलगमेशन. आई थिंक अंशुमन विल आल्सो एग्री विद मी कि और हम यही बात कर रहे थे, अंशुमन भी जब बोल रहा था कि इट वाज एन अमेलगमेशन ऑफ वेरियस थिंग्स कमिंग डाउन इन दिस सीजन. सब कुछ एक तरह से, और शायद ये नेसेसरी भी था. I'd like to divert to अंशुमन, अगर वो ऑडियो खोल के बात करता है कि उसको क्या, do you also resonate with this कि this was bound to happen somewhere down the line इस सीजन, नहीं तो अगले सीजन अगर हम लोग, क्योंकि जिस तरह से हम लोग जा रहे थे ये बहुत मुश्किल था. और अगर हम पिछले सीजन की तरह ही अगर हम लोग किस तरह से मान लो टॉप 4 फिनिश कर जाते, तब भी एरिक टेन हाग वाली साइनिंग बहुत मुश्किल थी, या जिस तरह का सिस्टम के लिए अब जा रहे हैं. Don't you think so?
Yeah, it would definitely have been this case because we can say, we can point fingers at a lot of things. People are pointing the fingers at David De Gea. Messi fans are saying Ronaldo is the problem. Ronaldo is not directly the problem. He's the representation of a problem that has plagued United for so long, which is that they don't know when to make footballing decisions. So that thing, you can only do that for so long before the whole house comes crashing down on you. And this season started with Manchester United again demonstrating that we have not learned, and we are not wanting to learn. We are going to continue making those mistakes again and again. The same we made in 14, the same we did in 16 and 18, and so on and so forth. We'll continue doing it. So it was only a matter of time before they had to self-introspect and say, okay, something needs to happen. We thought that was happening when they brought on Rangnick, and then the way the whole thing happened, like Wally pointed out, the moment we lost our Champions League knockout match against Atletico, that was our season over. Because at the time, the players were not taking nicely to Rangnick, because they did not know what exactly he was going to do even after his managerial term ended. So they were not knowing what kind of manager would come. So this is basically a lack of communication from United completely. The board is not telling Rangnick what your consultancy is going to be like. They are not telling the players what is the future for the club like, so that they can plan. They are not letting their players go. Like Pogba ke saath, unka pure season, they were like contract talks back and forth, instead of just telling him that, okay, you can leave, or okay, we are giving you so and so. or Lingard, despite wanting to leave in the summer, despite being told by Ragnick in winter that you can leave, he's not being allowed to leave. So there is a complete lack of communication as well. So the moment I genuinely think that if we were going for any kind of knockout competition, like FA Cup में भी हम लोग बहुत जल्दी बाहर हो गए, and round of 16 में also we were out. Like if we could manage a knockout cup run, I think that team morale could have been sustained for a while because there would have been some sort of incentive keeping us together. But the moment we lost that knockout match, things just kept derailing. Players did not know what was happening, so they eventually just gave up. Rangnick knew that he was not continuing as the permanent manager, so he was not going to stick around. He still had very little idea of what the consultancy was going to be like, if at all, because he was coming out, and the way he was doing his interviews, he was basically telling Manchester United, not just the fans, not just the journalists, Manchester United, what to do. Open heart surgery. We have talked about this so many times that from top to bottom, the whole thing needs to change. And he was telling that to the club. The club were not clearly communicating with him and the reason I keep repeating this, that the communication was not clear, is when Eric Ten Hag arrives, and in his very first press conference, one of the journalists asks him, what do you think about the prospect of working with Ralph Rangnick? And he bluntly puts out, he says, that's the club's business. And that should tell you everything you need to know regarding how involved Rangnick was in bringing Ten Hag to the club, because he wasn't at all. He's saying it's the club's business. So he also does not know what the consultancy is supposed to mean. Ragnick also has little idea. He has been consulted with, he has been listened to very little, because from what of every reliable report we have read, it says that Rangnick was hardly consulted in the managerial situation as well, that who will be the next manager. So this complete lack of communication just came down ringing all of us, and we went into the last few weeks of the season still very lucky, undeservedly in the name for top four, but it was all gone. And you can talk about having big personality players, but there's only so much they can do. So yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo has had a decent season for himself. He has been the best player for Manchester United. De Gea has been a very good player for Manchester United. But this is a team game at the end of the day, and the team was not there. The team was not there on the pitch. The team was not there in the managing staff. The team was not there in the board. There was a complete lack of communication. This just was bound to happen at some time. And we can say that this could have happened last season, this could have happened next season. This has happened when it has happened. And in this situation, I think we have to say that it's.
I think it is the best way this could have happened, because we signed what looked like the signings that would eventually help the club. The fans, the majority of the fans would think that we will finally be something, and the way it has collapsed, I think it was the perfect timing for us in hindsight, because we can always look back and realize, and I think we'll realize it further more down the line कि इस टाइम पे हुआ अच्छा था, बिकॉज इट वाज आल्सो वेक अप कॉल, बोर्ड को थप्पड़ सा पड़ा ये, एंड आई थिंक इट वाज नेसेसरी एज वेल, अंशुमन.
True. Yeah, like basically they just needed to happen. And they needed to realize that if you are going to run Manchester United like a commercial identity, you need to hold that brand value. Because right now we are circus, we are a fucking theme park. And media outlets are going to enjoy talking about us because, let's be honest, they are not looking for a solution. This was one of the most dominant club in the country. So for us to not be doing good anymore, obviously it's enjoyable. We laugh at Arsenal all the time. Why do we laugh at them? Because it's fun to look at teams not doing well, teams that used to do good at a point. So
Yeah,
obviously
banter.
that
Everybody
Schadenfreude
likes
element will
poking
never
fun.
go anywhere.
Yeah, poking fun, because
Yeah.
United fans were, whether you want to accept it or not, we were the most one of the most cockiest fans in the world because we were so successful, and we as in United fans, not us individually, but United fans were one of the cockiest fans because we were so successful in England. So it was it is enjoyable for other clubs as well to see an absolute shambles of these people who were always on top screaming that we are the best, we are the best, and now they are nowhere near what they claim to be, a shadow of their former self. And I think that perfectly packages the whole season and how United have been run for the past decade or so. Let's move forward the conversation, Anshuman, or do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, no, it's not much to add on. I just wanted to say that I think it's better for all parties included that Ralf Rangnick has left. I wish him all the best. I think he had his reasons for why things did not work out. It will be very interesting how what he does with the Austria team as well, because he's not going to get a lot of chance to be with the players. So that's a whole different thing. But it's better for Eric Ten Hag to be working without Ralf Rangnick than having to work with Ralf Rangnick, with whom apparently he was having disagreements from the very start. So I think it's better for all parties that it has happened the way it has happened. It's embarrassing, but this is the best outcome for everyone.
Yeah, Wali,
Mm.
do you have any words for us?
Yeah, I just have one thing. Like, it might be an interesting point. It's a theory. I don't know if it's true or not. I think rather than consulting Ragnick about Ten Hag, I think the board might have consulted Ten Hag about having Ragnick as a consultant, because eventually he was going to be the main manager, he was going to be the boss, and he just wanted to be there. I guess it had to do something with Ten Hag as well, and if that's his decision, I will respect it, because I've been wanting this man since quite a while, and I always thought that it's going to be too. It's too good to for it to be true for Manchester United to make a sensible decision by hiring a manager who is on the upward trajectory, who's young, who plays exciting football, who promotes youth, who doesn't go for the sexy names. I think this was the signing. This was the managerial signing that I was waiting for. Yes, I might have high anticipations, but at the same time, it's basically the patience level that I have with this guy, because I honestly believe that he could actually build something over here. This might be a Klopp moment. Okay, I might go to an extent to
You're
say
going
that the reason
overboard right now, but okay.
I'm not going overboard. Wait, don't forget that Klopp went trophyless for 3 or 4 seasons with Liverpool. So even if we go trophyless with Ten Hag for 3 seasons, but if we play exciting football, if he manages to entertain
how
the
much,
fans, we'll be missing
how
it.
much, how much
I'll be
are
more than
how
happy.
much our expectations have collapsed in one season?
I know. I just want to see
One
good
one
football,
season,
man. I just want to
one
that's
season
that's
before
what I
you were
want.
like, no, no trophies this season, and that is a failure. If we
Look,
don't win anything,
it's either you either play boring football and win trophies, or you don't win trophies and play good football. We haven't been doing either since quite a while. So एक चीज तो
so
मिलेगा.
anything
I'll
would
be more than
suffice.
happy.
Anything would suffice. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Anshuman, uh, uh, let's shift our conversation to Eric Ten Hag. Season expectations out of with Eric Ten Hag, how the fans और us क्या expect कर रहे हैं हम लोग उस पर बात करेंगे. अंशुमन, I'll go first to you. What do you think fans expect, or what do you expect out of Eric Ten Hag at the moment?
Uh, I don't expect anything, to be perfectly honest, because we have very little precedent to go on. Because we could earlier have said that Ed Woodward would do something. Ed Woodward is no longer here, and we have John Murtaugh as CEO. So we should have to we have John Murtaugh as football director, I think, and it's Richard Arnold as CEO. So we'll see what he does. Apparently, he wanted to not take care of the footballing side of things, but Rangnick is now gone. So Eric Ten Hag is coming from a club like Ajax, which is institutionalized, is a very well-run club, had a very good relationship with Edwin van der Sar and Mark Overmars, who is now for very right reasons no longer at the club. And but he still had a very well-structured club around him. And we need to remember, even with Ajax in the beginning, things were not right. The Ajax fan base did not like him because he spoke Dutch with a very fancy accent. He did not immediately was able to implement those Cruyffian principles that Ajax fans demand, because Ajax is an institution and the Dutch football is all about having to play a certain time away. Okay, you need to get the results as well, but the way you perform, it needs to be performed a certain way. And Eric Ten Hag, he needed his time for that, and it was easy to do that at Eredivisie. I know it's still Ajax, but and it still takes a long time, but there was a structure there, and he was able to relish in that structure. There is no such thing here. He's coming to a circus, and he might as well expect to be dealing with a lot of clowns, because that is what he's going to have to deal with. And there's a lot of noise here. There is a lot of scrutiny here. We are talking about patience. You're talking about giving him 2, 3 seasons, but we all know that the moment he loses his first 2, 3 matches, even he draws the first 2, 3 matches, hashtag Ten Hag out will start trending with his misplay, with a wrong spelling, because that is what is going to
Uh,
happen, because nobody really cares. And it because the journalists have already started asking questions, how much you can expect from this guy who has never really been in a top club, never really managed a top 5 team, and he has never really had these kind of expectations. How is he going to fit Manchester United? So the skeptics are already raising the right questions, and this is a results-based industry, and that is what befell David Moyes, I think, in the very beginning as well. Which, well, he had a lot of blame going for himself as well, because I think the job became too big for him in his own mind. So that does not seem to be the case with Eric, at least, because the way he gave his interview, I think he came across very blunt, very honest, and he had that understanding that people asked him, like, how much are you going to listen to other people's opinions, and he basically just said, I'll listen to everyone, but I'll have my own interpretations, I'll draw my own conclusions. So this is a guy who has a project in mind, at least what we can understand. He knows that he wants to implement
He
something,
should.
and
He should, because the way United were when we signed him, he should have had something in mind, or else why would anybody in their right mind would come to a place like Manchester United or the place that they are in?
yeah, but with the way Manchester United works, I no longer expect to be surprised by anything. Like,
Yes,
it just gave example the Rangnick situation. It is a circus for a reason. So I don't know. We 6 months down the line, we might be talking about why Eric Ten Hag did not work out for United, and we'll have more explanations, because this is Manchester United. So again, we have
yes.
very little precedent to go on, and people say that this is the rock bottom. I'm sorry, this is not the rock bottom. Things can always get worse. Let's just be realistic, because the season with David Moyes, we ended without European football, and we had more points than this. So things always end up in weird ways, right? We did not have European football then. We have ended up with Europa League football. So we still have Europe. We'll still have those matches in which we can try second string squad and see what we can build from there, because it is important to build from there. The clear out has already begun. The likes of Mata and Matic and Pogba are already out the door. So we already need to ingratiate a lot of our youth players into the main team, and let's see how we build the main team, because a lot needs to be done. I'm not that worried about the defense, because I think that if we can bring a bit more control to our midfield, I think we should be fine to a certain degree. Having Cristiano Ronaldo as a striker option is not the worst thing in the world. I'm surprised that he's voicing out opinions like he's going to stick around. But I will be very surprised if he sticks around. If let's say PSG comes in with 600k a week and say we'll give you Champions League and another shot at winning the trophy. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't go. But so far he hasn't said that. So far he's saying that he's going to stay. So far he say that he'll play Europa League football. So okay, good on him, and he'll bring us goals. But behind him, you are going to have to build a team. And United have their work cut out for them, because right now we barely have anything, and there is very little control. There are a lot of good players there. McTominay is not a terrible player. Maguire is not a terrible player. David De Gea has his issues, but he was still being used by Rangnick for a reason, because between him and Dean Henderson, David De Gea is the better shot stopper. He's not the modern day goalkeeper. You are not going to go anywhere with him in the long run. If you're going to dominate the league, you're going to want to play with a more modern goalkeeper, but he is the better shot stopper. And I think if Dean Henderson is to leave, then we need to keep an eye out for another goalkeeper as well. But let's see what happens. But most of the time, I think United need to look out for midfielders for the time being, and that's we'll see what we shall see. Because right now, honestly, there is very little precedent for us to go on. The Ten Hag hasn't really managed a top five league club. So we'll see what kind of principles he thinks that should be implemented. I expect Donny van de Beek to be ingratiated into the team a lot more than he was in the past 2 seasons. I don't think physicality is a good enough excuse for someone who is barely allowed to play in the league. So I expect him to play a lot more. I expect Bruno to have slightly different role than he has had so far, because under Solskjaer it was just like, okay, you do the thing. You just go out and see how much of a creative chances you can
So
create, because he is a
I think
volume creator.
I think this also lines in with the one other section that I had lined up. That is that Donny to feature more. That was the question, and I think most of us and most of the Manchester United fan base feels. Even the reports coming forward, even from Fabrizio, is that Donny van de Beek is definitely under Eric Ten Hag's plans, and he could
I thought
play
you froze,
a
I guess.
significant role.
Your
Are you not
video.
able to hear me?
No, I
Are you
can
not
hear
able to
you,
hear
but
me?
you're frozen. Like your video is, I guess, it's just stuck.
Anshuman, are you able to see the video?
No, your film is stuck.
Yeah. Just turn it off and turn it on again.
Okay, let's see. I don't think this should happen, but okay. अभी ठीक लग रहा है क्या? कुछ फर्क?
No, it's still
Hmm.
happening. Still the same.
Let me check.
Hmm.
अभी भी क्या मतलब हो क्या रहा है? I'm not understanding.
I'll
It's
show you.
frozen. Your
मेरे को
screen is
layout
frozen.
ठीक दिख रहा है.
Just one image of yours.
Okay, let me
Hmm.
check. You can continue. I'll check. I'll check.
Okay.
My question is just the same. Anshuman, it's regarding Donny Van de Beek. You can take over.
Yeah, I hope he gets to play more because Ten Hag has worked with him in the past. He has used as him as that advanced midfielder in which he creates spaces, he moves into spaces, and he is press resistant. He moves into the box late. So that we talked about this, I think, roughly 2 years ago now. That when he arrived, that he could play that role. And I'm expecting Bruno that if he could be played out wide, I think that could be an interesting thing to see because he has done that with his time at Udinese, Sampdoria, and Sporting. So it's not something that he's not used to.
Working
He has
now.
done that in the past. So let's see if we can see more of that. I'd like to see more of Luke Shaw. I think yes, he had an underwhelming season. So did Maguire. But I think under the right setups, those players will prevail. Those players will perform well again. And yeah, most importantly, I want to see what we do with our midfield because right now we don't have a defensive midfielder. We don't have a good on the ball midfielder. So how we acquire in that regard is going to make a lot of it's going to tell a lot about our recruitment plans as well. So we need to see where this goes because there is very little precedent essentially. So we need to give Ten Hag time, at least one season, before we start saying, okay, hashtag Ten Hag out. This is not working out. So I think patience is the key. It won't happen like that because inevitably everyone will be fed up of him if we don't win the first three games. But I think it is important to be realistic. And let's not forget that fostering a team togetherness is very important. We saw that under Solskjaer, and we all remember that clip of Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool that when they drew 2-2 against West Bromwich Albion and they went to the stands and they all joined their hands together and thanked the fans. At the time, everyone made fun of them, but that was one of the most crucial things of his management plan was to bring the team together. And the team needs to be brought together. And this goes without saying. This is a team sport. Your team needs to be together in order to succeed. You can have individual success in the team and have team perform totally shit, which Manchester United have. So we need to learn from that. The team needs to do better. The team needs to be together, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Very little precedent, and things can go a lot worse before we start feeling very glum about ourselves. There is still Europa League football. Nothing wrong with that. We still have a
You
very good
wanted
set of players
Conference
if we
League,
can
right?
implement. I
You
wanted
wanted
Conference
Conference
League
League.
because
That will win it.
yeah, because I was asking any Manchester United fan who could actually bother listening that if tomorrow you were presented a trophy, any trophy, I don't give a rat's ass about whether it's the Champions League, the Conference League, or if it's the Papa John's trophy. You'll take it. You'll take the fucking FA Community Shield because we haven't won in 5 years, and we are in no position to be self-entitled or say that this trophy is beneath us. This idea that trophies are beneath us is very something that I really don't again
No,
subscribe to.
I don't think United have ever treated any trophy like that. Even under
No,
Ferguson, when he
I've
won.
listened to a lot of fan discourse over the past couple of months, and they have been pulling their nose up at Conference League, and that is something that just shouldn't be existing anywhere near Manchester United.
I
There
think
is a
more
reason for
than
that as well, because the fifth tier of English football is called the Conference League, which is the non-league football essentially. So there is
Uh,
that part as well. So they associate that with the Conference League. I said that before from the very start that of all the shitty things UEFA does, it's one of the very good initiatives. It is important for the other countries in the UEFA setup to be earning that European money as well. And still, it is the big teams that are getting that trophies. Roma won, Mourinho won. So this is nothing new. There were still big teams going for it. And if United were to go to Conference League, I'd fucking take it because I would have taken anything. And the fact that we have ended up with the Europa League actually is not the worst thing because we didn't even deserve that going into the end of the season because the end of the
okay,
season was absolutely abject.
let's move forward quickly because it's already at the 50-minute mark. We want to just quickly wrap things up. This has been obviously this was meant to be a longer longer version of the pod because we have not come live for so long. It's been like 5 months. I was just seeing the channel. The last thing we uploaded was Raf's Ragnarok for the PL begins with
We've
fresh
lost you.
Fred's class. No, we won because of Fred in that game. Fred played very good, and we were on
Okay.
the up regarding that he'll
That was the
transform.
Norwich match. That was after the
Yes,
Norwich match.
That
yes,
was the best game that we played in the Ralph Ragnick. Yeah.
yes. So that was the last upload. After that, we were like, "Fuck this shit."
We gave up. We gave up, and
Never,
so
never
did the team.
coming back.
It's our fault.
Okay, so just we should quickly move things along. I'll just quickly move to another question that has been on the mind of every United fan, I think, and we were just discussing in the group. Things got very heated regarding this. DDG's position at United, and how do we see this particular situation brewing? Uh, Wali, I'd like to come to you because you were the number fan of our numero uno, David De Gea.
Yeah.
Uh, how do you think things are going to pan out for De Gea, and what are your predictions for this season for him? Then I'll come to Anshuman, who'll categorically speak about David De Gea and how things are bound to change regarding him.
David De Gea, like whether you like it or not, he's been one of our most important players. Like I know we've been shite over the past few years, but he's been one of our most important players
Especially
over the
last
years,
season.
like the majority of the years. Second season of Sir Alex, the first few seasons, I think all three seasons of Louis Van Gaal and Mourinho's second season, if I'm not mistaken. You remember that game against Tottenham and Arsenal where he made 10 or 11 saves? I think that was God
Double
level
save
David.
from Sanchez.
Exactly, that
Double.
was Sanchez and Aguero. So that was amazing. And Navadahe was basically just getting us points. Like his saves were basically like goals back then because we were winning games. So when we actually won games, we collected 82 points, 81 points under Mourinho. By the way, that's the most number of points that we've collected after Sir Alex Ferguson. Navadahe had a huge role to play in that season. So after that, but once you move on and the game is developed, once you see the likes of Allison, you see the likes of Edison, you see the likes of even Jordan Pickford for that matter. If you look at his goal kicks, it's I think terrific.
How he plays for England,
David De
not even
Gea,
Everton. How he plays for
exactly.
England,
You look at
especially
how he
on.
plays for England. He's good at saving penalties. For David De Gea, he's an excellent shot stopper. He's always been that. But अब क्या वो होता है ना कि next क्या है भाई? What's the next phase of it?
What's
How are you going
new?
to
How
develop
will
the
you
game?
evolve? Yes.
So that is something which I haven't seen for a long time. His goalkeeping is really good, and like shot stopping is really good,
And
but his goal
even
kicks,
even I think his passes and the range that he used to pass has deteriorated with time because I
there
remember him
exactly
spraying passes for Wayne Rooney and Van Persie in that season, and that is nowhere to be seen now.
his. That's what I'm trying to say. His passes from within the box to the players like in the outfield have been terrible. There have been plenty of times where it's been intercepted and it's led to a
And they are
goals from
directly, yeah, direct,
exactly.
and that also converts him to him saving a shot which that didn't
So
need to happen in the first place. Yes.
apart from that, he's not good at saving penalties. That is something also which we've seen over the last few years.
But this
Uh,
season he worked on it. I think
Yeah,
he
it's this
saved.
season he might have. So, like, if you're not, and if like you look in modern day football, you want your fullbacks to be good as well. If this was the '90s, then Aaron Wan-Bissaka would have been the best right back within the country. But everyone has identified that the right back no longer has to defend. Defending is now something which is not primary. It's attacking. If you are a fullback, even if you're good at attacking, Trent Alexander-Arnold is not known for his defending. He's known for his crosses. He's known for his
It's, I think
creativity.
I think it's more of the system that we play that we want to play in.
It's
If we want
it's
to play in
basically
if you want to
you're
play
adding
somewhere like if you want to play somewhere like Atletico, you can still have a great defensive player who can be taught to play around the players. But I
yeah,
think the way United are trying to play, Aaron Bissaka is not an
exactly.
asset right now.
So
He's more of
that's
a
what I'm
liability.
trying to say. Like your goalkeeper, like it's like basically from your 11 players, 8 or 6 players have to be your creators. Create your
Hmm.
wing backs, your number six, your forwards, your wingers. They have to create. You can't just be one dimensional, and that's what David De Gea is right now. He's one dimensional. He's been a great servant of the club. I love him, and if there is any player who deserves to be called a legend after Ferguson's era, it's definitely David De Gea. But yeah, the game has evolved, man. If you want Eric Ten Hag to succeed, then your goalkeeper needs to know how to distribute the ball, needs to know when to come out of the box to support your centre back, be a sweeper keeper, collect crosses from corners to reduce the pressure. He doesn't do any of it, and it's very sad to see him that way. But that's always been his game, and I don't think that's a fault of his own. He's been built that way. I think a new goalkeeper is something which we need. He's been the player of the
Do you
season.
think Henderson would be sold, or should he be given
I
on
think
loan and
Henderson,
then
keeping in mind the
would it?
World Cup is around the corner, he would love to go away from
I
Manchester
think
United.
I think a move to Newcastle is imminent for him, from the
I
reports
think
that
it's
I have seen.
possible. I think it is
So
very
that
much possible. Hmm.
so according to you, DDG's time at United is coming to an end. Maybe not this season, but next season
I
it
think
is
Ten
bound
Hag
to
is
happen.
going to see him, check him out for one season. That's about it. After that, I don't think that he's going to
Because
stay here.
he's not a player who you need immediate replacement with. So this season we still have
It's
to
slightly,
see.
slightly. You might be able to relate it a little. Bruno Fernandez. People say that without his goals, without his assists, he's not much of a player, and all that. We have
No,
plenty
I'm
of
not
players
saying
who are
that.
basically. There are
I'm
plenty
not
of
saying
players
that.
who are
I've never said that.
basically
I like
that.
Bruno. Just that he's too much of a risk taker
Right.
to for
Hmm.
United system right now.
See,
That's
right
what
now
I
we
think.
have players who are just basically good at their specific task. Basically, their overall gameplay hasn't been developed to that level. Like Bruno Fernandez, if you take his goals and assists away, and if you just look at the 90 minutes without his highlights of a goal and assist, you might say that, yeah, this player needs a lot of improvement. Similarly for David De Gea, similarly for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, there are plenty of players in our club who are basically one-dimensional. I want that to change. We need to perform as a collective unit. Ten Hag might be able to might or might not be able to do that. He's already looking for a right back, which I'm happy that he's identified the problem. He's looking for midfielders. He's also looking for a striker. Yes, goalkeeper, that might take a little bit time. That might be a problem. It is a problem, but it's not the worst
So
of problems.
right now, your position on De Gea is that
For another season, I guess. I think
his
one
chapter is
chance
about
will
to
come
come to
back.
an end. His chapter is about to
I
come to an
I
end.
feel so.
Okay,
I feel so.
Anshuman, regarding the whole situation, just quickly give us your thoughts about David De Gea and the goalkeeping situation at United.
Yeah, so I have lobbied about the making hard choices all the time, and every cycle comes to an end. This is the same for players and personnel as well. Some players can last; their peaks last for a decade. Some players' peaks last for 4 years, 5 years. But eventually, you have to make the right call. You have to make that hard call and make those changes. Let the players who are past their prime go and flesh the new blood in. Sir Alex Ferguson understood this better than most. He would let players go the moment they started showing signs of falling off the cliff, and he used to get a lot of stick for that because you read the players' interviews and they are still very salty about it. But he always prevailed, and why did he prevail? Because he knew that people needed to be changed, that systems needed to be changed and adapted and evolved over time because that is the reality. Things change and nothing can be kept constant. And David De Gea has unquestionably been one of the best goalkeepers in the world for a while. 2014 to 2018, he was right up there. There's nothing that can be taken away from him. When it comes to shot stopping, he had a bit of a phase when he was fumbling a lot in that 2018 to 2021 phase, where he was making a lot of mistakes. That did not happen last season. There weren't any apparent mistakes that he made. However, he is a very limited goalkeeper in the modern day goalkeeping sense because the modern day goalkeeping is being defined by the likes not only not just not the, even by the likes of Jan Oblak, who's not considered one of the best, not even by Mark Andre Stegen, who's not even considered one of the best, the likes of Edison, the likes of Alisson Becker, even Brighton's Robert Sanchez and Brentford's David Raya, who who are these kind of players who facilitate playing out from the back because that is one of the foundations of collective football now, that you start playing out from the back because it increases your chances to exert control on the pitch. That control you cannot exert with a goalkeeper who can have very little command on his box. He doesn't come out for the crosses. He doesn't come out for corners. He doesn't come out for a lot of situations in which he should be coming out for. So that command is already not there. So even before we start talking about distribution and passing from the back and all that stuff, that part is not there. Short stopping, fantastic. He's still up there. He's a very good shot stopper. I'm not taking that away from him. But those modern day things that you expect from a goalkeeper now are gone. that has been visible for a long time, which is why even before the start of last season, at the end of last season, we were talking about De Gea or Henderson. I said it's hard decision to make. It's not an easy decision because emotionally we are all attached to David De Gea. He has been part of a club for a long time, but we need to move on. We need to make that hard call. We need to invest in Dean Henderson. That did not happen. My theory, one of the theories for that is because we did not make any kind of midfielding acquisitions as well. We could not play the kind of football, the high line collective football, in which we could dominate teams in the other half. Because if we were playing that, the teams would overrun us anyway because we had no control in the midfield. So in that situation, when you're going to be pegged back anyway, instead of having a goalkeeper that is made for a situation that you cannot create, let's have a goalkeeper that you know is a good shot stopper. Which is why I think David De Gea has been kept in the starting lineup, and for no other reason. Is Dean Henderson as good a shot stopper as David De Gea? Right now, he's not. Simple as that. But he's a much modern goalkeeper than David De Gea is. And if you do not give him the chance, he'll go play somewhere else because he knows his worth and he knows that
I think the
he
Newcastle
has a
move
very
is
good chance to
to
take.
happen. I think the Newcastle
Yeah.
move is about to happen. It is being speculated that it is going to be around 15 million to 20 million mark, but we'll have to wait and see how much that goes forward. Uh, I'd like to give Henderson out on loan rather than selling him because we'll need to replace De Gea as soon as possible. I think so. I don't know how much of it will go down because the thing with United and transfers is that you're never too sure. Else, it's Cristiano Ronaldo and he is about to come. You're never too sure about any other thing at Manchester United regarding transfers. So that's what I believe in. That you're never too sure. We made David De Gea's deal at Real Madrid collapse in the final day with a fax machine not being able to work. So we can pull off major transfer upsets. So I I hope
He
that
missed out on
they
4 Champions Leagues.
huh.
Poor guy.
And they played with Lopez in one, na? If I'm not wrong, where they defeated United.
One
Kevin
day, one
Navas.
with Diego Lopez, yes. The
Yes.
2014 one, yes.
No, 14.
He
They
lost
won in
four.
17, right?
He lost the opportunity to win
They
four
won in
Champions League.
14,
Yeah,
15, and then
yeah.
they won in 16,
14
17.
15 won by Barcelona. 13 14 was Ancelotti's Real.
Ancelotti's Real.
13, 14. Yes. 13, 14. Ancelotti's Real. Then they won in again in 16, 17. Then 17,
Three-peat.
18. And 18,
They did the
19.
15 16 16 17 17 18.
Okay, so I think that covers De Gea for us. We, all three of us are in agreement that Manchester United have to part ways with De Gea, and I think we come with this for the final segment, the final few talking points, and one of them is on thumbnail, that is transfers. That is a major part. We'll continue talking about it on the channel. Continue talking about it on Spaces in Twitter, on Twitter, so you can follow us there as well. तो क्या लग रहा है दोनों को बताओ कि क्या ट्रांसफर्स तुम्हें एमिनेंट लग रहे हैं बिकॉज माटा जा रहा है कंफर्म लिंगार्ड पॉगबा ऑलरेडी लेफ्ट ठीक है
Cavani.
और कवानी इज बाउंड टू गो
Phil
मैटिस जा रहा
Jones.
है मैटिस जा रहा है फिल
Phil
जोन्स जा
Jones
रहा है
is leaving, by the way.
हाँ फाइनली बट एटलीस्ट ही इज गोइंग मोर respectfully than many
Bhai,
players who have played
I was
because
17 years I was 17
he is
years old
going
when Phil Jones was signed by United. I'm 27 now.
10 years, a decade now.
A decade of
Unbelievable.
destruction.
But he has given more for the club than many of these players, so I'm not really mad at him. He has given his all with his limited abilities that he had. He's a Premier League winner. We have to give him some respect. He's a Premier League winner. Okay, so he has won more trophies than United in the past 5 years.
Even Smalling
So,
now. Even Smalling's won another trophy.
स्मॉलिंग तो गायब हो गया बीच में
Maldini.
बहुत बढ़िया स्मॉल डीनी हो गया था वो बीच में अभी तो गायब चल रहा है वो
He's
अभी
won
तो
another
Still
trophy.
Maldini. Won man of the match for the Conference League final.
मतलब अब उतना जैसे बीच में तो हाइप ही हो गया बहुत बढ़िया खेल रहा था अभी बस खेल रहा
Smalling
है
और Maguire की कॉन्वर्सेशन जब आती है ना मैं कभी-कभार सोचता हूँ फिर.
कि क्या हम ज्यादा ही हार्श हो गए थे क्या
Yeah,
क्या
वो
हम
भी
ज्यादा
तो
एक्सपेक्ट करने लगे थे
Were we
मतलब
too harsh
ये
this morning? Because I remember he used to score a lot of goals for United. So
हेडर काफी मारता तो उसने उसमें मारा तो था सिटी वाले डर्बी में जिसमें 2 गोल मारे
जरूर
पॉग्बा ने जिस गेम की बात करते रहते हैं हम लोग उसमें विनर था उसका 3-2 जीते जिसमें फाइनल गोल उसी का था वो चक्कर के ऐसे प्लेयर खूब रहे ना हमारे पास
एशली
अनसंग
यंग
गोल
राइट बैक
मारने
हुआ
वाले
करता था और अब फिर
यार
अनवन
एशली
आया
यंग
तो
अच्छा
हमको
सर्वेंट था यार ना 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 आई
फिर
वोंट
जब
हियर
वैन बिसागा
शिट
आया वी
अबाउट
वर ऑल
एशली यंग ठीक
हैप्पी
है
वैन बिसागा आ गया
नहीं नहीं
यंग
नहीं
चला
नहीं
गया
एशली यंग के
No,
बारे में आई
like
वोंट हियर
actually,
शिट
no, if you look at Van Bissaka's game now, I was
हाँ
actually re-evaluating my sentence and re-evaluating my thoughts and thought that actually Ashley Young was a better player.
यंग इतना बुरा नहीं
Overall,
था कि ये तो
overall game
पुश
तो
भी
इसका
कर रहा
अच्छा
था
था
आगे
यार.
हाँ
It was just that
तो
अभी
ट्रांसफर
reality
बात कर लेते हैं फाइनल फाइनल ट्रांसफर बात कर लेते हैं अंशुमन फाइनल ये सेगमेंट है इसके बाद बस वी आर क्लोजिंग द शो
हाँ
ट्रांसफर्स क्या किस किस का लग रहा है कौन कौन आने वाला है हु डू यू वांट टू कम इनटू यूनाइटेड इन दिस पर्टिकुलर विंडो एंड व्हाट डू यू एक्सपेक्ट जो यू वांट एंड व्हाट
एक
डू यू एक्सपेक्ट टू कम इन दोनों अलग अलग रखना
एक 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 चीज
Okay,
यहाँ पे
so
मैं
अच्छा
अगर
वली
अंशुमन
बोल
ओके
वली बोल बोल
no,
बोल
no, no, go, go.
हाँ एक
वली
चीज मैं
बोल
यहाँ कहना चाह रहा हूँ कि दिस टाइम आई डोंट नो द ट्रांसफर मार्केट फील अ लिटिल डिफरेंट बिकॉज हमें अपने टारगेट्स पता है बहुत पहले से पता है कि दीज आर द टारगेट्स इट्स फ्रैंकी डियोंग इट्स टिम्बर और अब राइट बैक में भी एक जगह है जो
क्या
आएगा बट
न्यूनेस भी साइन करेंगे हम लोग बेनिफिका से
नूनेज इज वन ऑफ द ऑप्शंस तो ये तीन टारगेट्स हमें पता है कि इन तीनों के पीछे यूनाइटेड टारगेट कर रही है वरना ड्यूरिंग एड वुडवर्ड्स एरा इट वाज बेसिकली हे वायर किसी के लिए भी जा रहा है सैविच आ रहा है गाइटान आ रहा है कोई आ रहा है ये इट्स फाइनली अ लिटिल आई डोंट नो I feel more at comfort right now that we've identified our targets. Now it's up to us whether we are able to actually bring them into our club or not. तो डियोंग और टिम्बर पे तो पक्की बात हो रही है यार एंड इफ वी गेट दीस टू प्लेयर्स आई बी मोर देन हैप्पी उसके अलावा अगर आपको एक राइट बैक और एक स्ट्राइकर भी मिल जाएगा आई थिंक इट वुड बी द आइडियल सिचुएशन फॉर टेन हैग बट यार मुझे लग रहा है डियोंग को देना पड़ेगा बार्सिलोना को बिकॉज देयर इन अ फाइनेंशियल मेस एंड आई थिंक दे
सीडीएम
वांट टू
सीडीएम नहीं
सीडीएम
चाहिए
यार
को
आई डोंट नो सीडीएम तो चाहिए ही चाहिए ऑफ कोर्स लेकिन आई डू नॉट नो हु दे
लेकिन
गोना साइन फॉर सीडीएम
तो
आई
कोई
हैव नो
दिमाग में
क्लू
है अगर कोई
कोई
दिमाग
दिमाग
में
में
है
है यार मुझे पता नहीं कि ये डियोंग और वैन डी को साथ में खिलाएगा मुझे लग रहा है आई डोंट नो हाउ he's going to integrate them together and I don't know who's going to be that CDM वो
अगर वो
अभी
साथ
तक
में खिलाएगा तो ब्रूनो कहाँ जाएगा
ब्रूनो को यार ब्रूनो का मुझे लग रहा है यार जैसे हम डेविड डेहे की बात कर रहे हैं ना if he doesn't change his game I think Donny van de Beek is going to get a lot of games in place of him because
नहीं
थोड़ा सा उसको कंट्रोल पसंद है
ब्रूनो क्रिएटर अच्छा है
या
ब्रूनो
टेन
क्रिएटर
हैग को
अच्छा है
कंट्रोल पसंद है लेकिन इवेंचुअली he likes control
और लेकिन
if
नहीं लेकिन अब वो अबंडेंस में चांसेस भी बनाता है ना एंड ब्रूनो प्रोवाइड्स दैट ब्रूनो
ब्रूनो
प्रोवाइड्स
को यार
मल्टीपल
मैं
चांसेस
तो जैसे कि अंशुमन ने बोला है वाइट प्लेयर अगर यूज करेंगे ना राइट पे आई वुड रादर प्रेफर दैट बिकॉज हिज क्रॉसेस आर गुड आप उसको इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं वहां पे अब पता नहीं क्या करेगा बढ़िया
तो
सीडीएम
अभी तेरे
अभी
को
तक मैंने
अभी दो ही प्लेयर है दिमाग में अभी तेरे का
हाँ
एक दिमाग में है फ्रैंकी डियोंग एंड टिम्बर ये दो हो जाए तो खुश
टिम्बर
है
की अगर डील कोलैप्स हुई तो यू हैव फरहान टोरेस विलारियल का जिसके पीछे बात चल रही है वो भी एक ऑप्शन है तो डिसेंट
पाओ
ऑप्शंस है
टोरेस
हाँ
पाओ
सॉरी सॉरी
टोरेस
सॉरी और
फरहान
पाव
टोरेस बारसा
टोरेस माय
मैन सिटी
मिस्टेक
से बारसा
सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द प्लेयर्स और यार और दूसरी बात मैं क्यों एक्साइटेड हूँ कि आउटगोइंग्स फाइनली हो रही है बिकॉज हमारे क्लब से लोग जाते ही नहीं थे सो फाइनली 5 or 6 प्लेयर्स मतलब विद इन अ ब्लिंक ऑफ एन आई दे आर लीविंग थोड़ी सी स्पेस बनेगी वेज स्ट्रक्चर थोड़ा इंप्रूव होगा पॉगबा भी जा रहा है ओए एक स्ट्राइकर आ रहा है यार एंथनी मार्शियल हाउ कैन यू फॉरगेट हिम यार हाउ कैन यू
he's
फॉरगेट
co- he's coming back
ही इज कमिंग
मेरे को
बैक
बात मेरे को बात तो जेम्स गार्नर के बारे में भी करनी थी बट आई थिंक आई टॉक टू अंशुमन अबाउट
अंद्रेस
इट
पेरेरा
अंशुमन
भी प्री सीजन में देखेंगे उसको बाय द वे प्री सीजन पेडलो भी आ रहा
प्री
है
सीजन पर लो वापस आ रहा है चलो हाँ उसकी
हाँ
डील कोलैप्स हो गई ना वहाँ पे ब्राजील में तो ठीक है
तो
अंशुमन
यार अभी यही अंशुमन
अच्छा
को अगर
बोल
पता है
रहे
कोई सीडीएम आएगा तो बताओ यार सीडीएम का आई हैवंट सीन एनी रिपोर्ट्स सो फार
अबे यार पूरे सीजन शुमिनी को हम लोग साला कोट करते रहे वो जाएगा रियाल हराम खोर खैर अंशुमन हु डू यू एक्सपेक्ट और क्या लग रहा है हु डू यू एक्सपेक्ट एंड हु डू यू वांट दोनों अलग अलग क्वेश्चन है आंसर आंसर देम सेपरेटली
So ट्रांसफर्स को लेके आई डू नॉट हैव दैट मच ऑफ एन आइडिया बिकॉज आई हैवंट स्टार्टेड थिंकिंग अबाउट कि आगे अभी लेने क्या है बिकॉज चाहिए द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग दैट वी नीड टू रीइंफोर्स इज आवर मिडफील्ड and if Frankie De Jong, I have my suspicions with him, not because I don't think he's a good player, but because I think he does not want to be at Manchester United. Barca was his dream club, and he just wants to stay there. But then again, I know that Bartomeu's sold him a dream right when he was at the cusp of joining PSG. That this is the place to be, and the things didn't work out that way. So, and Joan Laporta also is in a situation in which he's having to tell Frankie De Jong that look, we don't want to sell you, but we don't really have an option. And also, Barca can afford to lose Frankie De Jong because they have Gavi, they have
Yeah,
Pedri,
similar players. Similar
yeah,
players.
they have a lot of players coming through the ranks that Xavi
Similar
prefers,
position.
and in similar positions. So I think Frankie De Jong is one of their expendable players, one of their assets that they would like to sell. So there is
Cash
some
on.
chance there. My only worry with Frankie De Jong is that Manchester United might end up paying up a lot of amount for him, and then it will end up
80
becoming
million.
a Pogba situation all over again. So that worries me slightly. And if we can get him in a very, I think, a relatively
80
effective deal,
million से कम
something
नहीं
between
जाएगा यार वो तो बारसा are clear that
if
they
we
want
can
80 million.
strike a deal with Barca, I think 80 million is a bit too much. If we can strike a deal between 50 to
60,
65 million, I think
60
I think I'll be fine, relatively fine with that. And
हाँ
so
जब हम
80
50
million
वाला
would be
फ्रेड के
like
लिए दे सकते हैं
Barca being
जब
able to
50 हम
exploit
फ्रेड के
us.
लिए दे सकते हैं तो हम 60 दे सकते हैं फ्रैंकी डियोंग के लिए ठीक है जब अगर 50 हम फ्रेड को दे सके भूल सकते हैं 3 साल के लिए कि हमने उस पर पैसा खर्च किया है तो हम एक बार को 60 मिलियन ले सकते हैं ठीक है तो दैट इज डी अब इतना
Yeah,
पैसा तुम साला
and
फैंस और दूसरे लगा लो कोई बात नहीं
yeah, and Julian
अरे लेकिन
Timber
वो क्या
from
सीन है
Ajax.
ये शादी पार्टी
Mhm.
वगैरह हो रही है कैंप nou में ये क्या सीन है भाई
Yeah,
शादी
they
पार्टी
are
करवा रहे
selling
हैं
their
साले
club out a lot more now. That
हाँ
is essentially that.
होगा
Yeah, because they
स्पॉटिफाई का
need the
नाम तो आ
money.
गया
They
स्पॉटिफाई
need
का
the
नाम
money.
तो आ गया स्पॉटिफाई
Hmm.
कैंप नो तो हो गया वो उसके बाद अब
Hmm.
सारा शादी पार्टी भी करवा रहे हैं मतलब भाई तुम क्या वेजेस देने का पैसा नहीं है क्या प्लेयर को बिल्कुल ही कि तुम एक आध
Because
प्लेयर की वेज निकल जाए शादी
because
से
people do because Xavi's Barca is playing slightly better than Ronald Koeman's Barca was. So
हाँ
people have essentially forgotten that Barca is still in a financial mess. They have taken a
हाँ
loan of 1.5 billion from
अभी तो लिया
Goldman
यस
Sachs
यस यस
to
यस
reinforce the squad. Then they have taken another 1 billion loan to essentially revamp their entire stadium and establish this STI Barca project, which could attract
मोर फैंस
tourists and Barca fans from around the world. So, or what they have done essentially with the likes of Samuel Umtiti and bringing
ये
back
अरे एक
Daniel
सेकंड एक
Alves and Mhm.
मेरे को ये इशू मैं क्वेश्चन करने वाला था मैं भूल गया ऑलमोस्ट ये कभी और बात करेंगे इस पे या तो ये सैमुअल उमितिति का चक्कर क्या है भाई ही वाज सपोज्ड टू बी अ बिग प्लेयर वो तो गायब है एकदम दिख ही नहीं रहा है
ये
It
सैमुअल
didn't work
उमटीटी का
out. Barca
अरे
bought a
वो है
lot of players in the last 5 years
है
that haven't
कहाँ
worked out.
वो है
this
कहाँ
He's at Barca. He's at Barca.
एक सैमुअल उमटीटी
वो
का मैंने
दिखता
सुना था
ही
I
नहीं
don't know
है
if it's true or not. It's like he's one of those players who doesn't prefer a surgery because he's afraid of a surgery or something like that. I don't know if that's true.
उमितिति
उसके वजह से
उमितिति
हाँ उसकी वजह से जो
अच्छा
है
रिकवरी
उसकी
वगैरह वो हो
इंजरी
गया अच्छा
प्रोलॉन्ग हो पा रही है और बार्सिलोना के ऊपर एक बड़ा फनी मैंने देखा था इंस्टाग्राम में पोस्ट जब इनकी जर्सी लॉन्च हुई थी सो क्वाइट अ फ्यू पीपल कमेंटेड आफ्टर सीइंग दैट जर्सी दैट दे ट्रूली इन अ फाइनेंशियल मेस जिस हिसाब के उन्होंने जर्सी लॉन्च की है ना
अच्छा नया
अजीब
वाला
सी हाँ मतलब पीपल आर नॉट लाइकिंग इट सो या that's how it is
चलो ठीक है we'll talk
हाँ
sometime else about this
डीएम किसी का पता नहीं है फ्रेडी खेलेगा मुझे लगता है इवेंचुअली
हाँ तो मेन मेरा क्वेश्चन वही था कि हम वही दो नाम पे आके अटक रहे हैं फ्रैंकी डियोंग और टिम्बर तो अभी
ये बात सुनते ही
सीडीएम
चला
कोई
गया
बोल रहा है मेरे को बात ही नहीं करनी सीडीएम के बारे
फ्रेड की बात करके
में अरे आ गया
हाँ Declan Rice तो I don't think we're gonna go for him anymore.
अरे
I
नो
think
पॉइंट मैन 100 मिलियन मांग रहे साले पागल है क्या 100
हाँ
मिलियन का
नहीं
डेक्लन राइस थोड़ी है दिमाग खराब हो गया क्या कुछ भी मतलब 100 मिलियन का एक प्लेयर है क्या अंशुमन 100 मिलियन देगा डेक्लन राइस के लिए
नहीं भाई नहीं It's gonna be another
अंशुमन
Maguire situation.
अंशुमन तेरा फंस गया शायद तूने नेट चेंज किया क्या कुछ अंशुमन आवाज आ रही तुझे
लैग हो रहा है इसका
लैग हो रहा है
ये तो आवाज नहीं आ रही
नेटवर्क का इशू हो रहा है उसका शायद
चलो कोई नहीं कंक्लूड करते हैं वैसे
हाँ कंक्लूड करते हैं तो वुड यू गिव 100 मिलियन फॉर डेक्लन राइस डू यू थिंक इट्स फीजिबल मेरे को तो भाई फिर वही वाली बात हो जाएगी दे बिकम टू बिग फॉर देयर बूट्स और फिर अब वो फिर उसको जस्टिफाई नहीं कर पाया तो देन अगेन इट बिकम्स अ प्रॉब्लम
तुम जिस ये देखो कि I don't think has Jurgen Klopp splashed 100 million at someone. अभी
नो,
तक नॉट इवन
अभी
वन
तक
टाइम एंड जस्ट
नहीं
लुक एट
तो
हिज टीम
75
तो
का उसने वो लिया था ना, क्या कहते हैं, दिस वेंडाइक, तो वो
वैन
सबसे बड़ा
डाइक
ही साइनिंग था।
ही वाज वर्थ
70
इट
65 मिलियन का उसने एलिसन लिया, बट दे आल्सो सोल्ड कुटिन्यो फॉर अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ना, उसको वहां से रीइंफोर्स कर लिया था।
तो वही है यार 100 का कोई नहीं है 100 का करना भी नहीं चाहिए it adds a lot of pressure on the player as well तो स्मार्ट बिजनेस करना चाहिए एंड आई थिंक विद टेन हैग विद इन द फ्रे हो सकता है वो सो लेट्स जस्ट सी क्या होता है
हाँ, तो फिर यही था। अभी के लिए कंक्लूजन शायद यही है कि अभी वेट एंड वॉच, गिविंग द एरिक टेन हाग टाइम इज द बेस्ट वे टू गो फॉरवर्ड। अभी एवरी वन ऑफ अस इज एक्सपेक्टिंग अ कोलोसल चेंज जो इतनी जल्दी पॉसिबल नहीं है, तो वील हैव टू वेट। लेकिन वी ऑल नो हाउ यूनाइटेड फंक्शंस, वेट यहाँ पर होता नहीं है किसी से। फैंस आर टू स्केप्टिकल अबाउट थिंग्स, फैंस आर टू इम्पेशेंट, और तीन तीन मैचेस अगर खराब खेले हम लोग, उसके बाद द होल वर्ल्ड विल कोलैप्स। तो अभी लेट्स सी हाउ थिंग्स गो। अंशुमन इज बैक, सो अगर कुछ फाइनल थॉट्स हैं। मैं बात कर रहा था कि डेक्लन राइस के बारे में पूछा था मैंने तुझसे लास्ट, क्या तू देगा 100 मिलियन डेक्लन राइस के लिए?
Nope.
What West Ham are asking.
No, but that's the thing, right? Like
ये
you don't have
ब्रेक्सिट
to
टैक्स,
pay.
ये ब्रेक्सिट टैक्स इतना बड़ा कैसे हो गया है, मेरे को समझ नहीं आ रहा है। हम लोग वी एंडेड अप पेइंग फकिंग 80 फॉर मैगवायर, ठीक है, वो मैं आई एम वन ऑफ द लास्ट पीपल हु गो फॉर द हेड ऑफ मैगवायर। मैं अभी भी बोल रहा हूँ कि ही इज अ डिसेंट प्लेयर, और हम भूल रहे हैं कि कितना क्रूशल था वो एक सीजन पहले हमारे लिए, और अभी एक सीजन उसका बहुत खराब गया, आई एक्सेप्ट दैट। बट साला 80 मिलियन का प्लेयर तो नहीं है भाई। अभी एक डेकेड थोड़ा ज्यादा पहले रोनाल्डो गया 80 मिलियन रियल मैड्रिड, उस लेवल का प्लेयर था क्या यार वो? क्या मजाक चल रहा है क्या ये? ऐसे थोड़ी होता है। हम लोग इतना पैसा क्यों दे रहे हैं? यूनाइटेड के नाम से ही ये लोग अपना इन्फ्लेट कर देते हैं क्या प्राइस, कि बोल रहे हैं यूनाइटेड इंटरेस्टेड है, अब इनसे 20 मिलियन और लो, 30 मिलियन और लो इनसे,
So we have established that reputation for ourselves now. But when we
कि हम
spent
लोग पैसा
100
देंगे
million for
लेके।
Pogba, yeah,
यार
but the moment you spend 100 million for Paul Pogba, the player you let go for free, and then eventually would let go for free again. So we are the joke. So if Manchester United comes calling, you already double the rate. There is nothing. So we need
इवन
to
इफ
regain a reputation in that regard.
इवन इफ यू लुक एट द वेट स्ट्रक्चर भाई प्रीमियर लीग में टॉप 10
Yeah,
हाँ,
हाईएस्ट अर्नर्स में से 5 प्लेयर्स जो है यूनाइटेड के टॉप 10
our wage
हाईएस्ट
structure is already broken because Ronaldo is getting 510K a week. So
तो
any new incoming player will again ask in that, keeping that in mind only.
आई थिंक मोहम्मद सलाह इज नाउ गेटिंग 200 नहीं अब 400 की बात हो रही है समथिंग लाइक दैट बट
नहीं
राइट नाउ
नहीं नहीं दे रहे उसे, नहीं
नहीं
दे
दे
रहे
रहे
उसे
तो
Liverpool will
कॉन्ट्रैक्ट।
likely be more sensible and not let him
they
go.
won't
भाई
they won't
क्लॉप
like
Not
बहुत
give him
स्मार्ट,
that.
मतलब अगर ये
आई
कर
नो
देता है ना साला को सेल,
वो नहीं
आई
देगा
थिंक ही विल
मुझे
सेल
पता है
साला।
लेकिन राइट नाउ लेकिन मुझे पता है कि अब उसको
उसका
250 मिल रहा है
कॉन्ट्रैक्ट
250 दैट्स द सेम एज रैशफोर्ड एंड मार्शियल
अंशुमन,
सो 250
ये
में
क्या कहते हैं, साला को क्या कब तक इसका कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, कब तक? 24 तक है, 23
अगले
तक है?
साल तक का 23.
23 तक का है। तो क्या बारसा फ्री में जाएगा क्या अगर ये जाने का होएगा इसका तो?
That is what's being discussed with Barcelona. But I think if Liverpool would like to talk to
लिवरपूल
Salah and
स्मार्टर
Mane
है।
this season only.
माने तो जा रहा
यार
है, माने तो कंफर्म हो गया ना।
whatever
I,
माने
I
इज
have a
गोइंग।
feeling that if they are not able to if they are not able to extend their contracts with them, they'll sell them both in a fee between 80 to 100 million total fee, because Mane will cost something around 30 and Salah is not going for anything under 50, and there will be clubs out there like PSG and Real are already very butthurt after what happened with Kylian Mbappe, so they need to make a big show because that's all they're about, a big show.
शोमिनी
So they
शोमिनी
will need to they need to splash big. And also, they don't have a right-sided attacker, that big name attacker. I know Rodrigo, he's a very good up-and-coming name, and he really established himself last season as well. But on the right side, they don't have, because Asensio is always injured. Valverde plays when they needed a more defensive stability, and Bale has now gone. So there's a very good chance
अरे
Salah might go at
अबे
Real.
वेल्स जीत गया, वेल्स जीत गया तो वेल्स वुड प्ले इन द वर्ल्ड
I
कप
know,
नाउ।
I know. I was watching the match, right?
हाँ,
Right, like,
अब दे विल प्ले इन द वर्ल्ड कप, राइट?
yeah
yeah,
इसके बाद एक और
64
गेम
years
है।
के बाद. Good for them.
तो
वेल्स को
इसका
भाई तुम
अभी
ये देख लो
सिचुएशन ये है ना कि ये शायद एक शॉर्ट टर्म डील साइन करेगा, तो आई थिंक न्यूकासल भी जा सकता है ये, बिकॉज ही
Very
इज
likely.
साइनिंग ओनली टू प्ले, ही इज प्लेइंग ओनली टिल द वर्ल्ड कप। वो खाली वर्ल्ड कप तक खेलने वाला है, मतलब ही वेरी
happened?
एविडेंट दैट ही विल रिटायर।
गैरेथ
रिटायर
बेल
करेगा
टू
वो?
न्यूकासल मेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ सेंस मेरे हिसाब से
अबे वो रिटायर
बहुत।
करने का सोच रहा है। ही इज लाइक कि फक दिस शिट, आई एम डन। बोल रहा 5 चैंपियंस लीग हो गई, बहुत हो गया, क्या करूं
ये
और?
भाई ऑब्वियसली भाई हिज हंगर खत्म हो चुका है। ही इज आई थिंक ही इज द मोस्ट सक्सेस, ही इज द
बात
मोस्ट
वही हो, पता
डेकोरेटेड
है,
ग्रेटेस्ट
आफ्टर
प्लेयर।
थ्री-पीट ना, आफ्टर थ्री-पीट वन ही वाज बूड, ही वाज लाइक कि फक दिस शिट मैन, मैं और क्या कर सकता हूं कि फैंस मेरे
भाई
को
तुम
बू
ये
करना बंद
देखो,
कर दें।
रियल मैड्रिड के बेंच पे मतलब रद्दी पे बैठता है गैरेथ बेल। रद्दी मतलब
हाँ,
बेंच पे एक और एक हमारी बेंच होती है।
वो खाली पैसा लिया भाई। वो पता है वो जा सकता था कहीं और, रियल उसको
एंड भाई
बोल रहा था
ही
कि तू
केम
चले जा करके।
ही केम इन द प्रीमियर लीग लास्ट सीजन लोन पे, उसके बावजूद उसने कम मैचेस खेले तब भी उसने डबल डिजिट में गोल स्कोर कर दिया मजाक मजाक में। ऐसा
हाँ,
प्लेयर है
लेकिन
वो
बात ये था ना
अभी।
कि रियल वर आस्किंग फॉर गुड मनी, और उसका वेज टॉटनहम देने को तैयार नहीं था। बेल वाज लाइक वेज कम नहीं करूंगा मैं, वेज तो मेरा 1 साल का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट बचा है। बोल रहा वेज उतना देना है तो
The
लीवी देगा नहीं उतना पैसा।
first
लीवी
paid
ने बोला
like
मैं,
first paid like 30-40% of his wages, which are roughly
हाँ
650 a week, so
हाँ।
650K.
तो अभी न्यूकासल का बहुत बड़ा हो सकता है एक मेगा सूप। तो न्यूकासल कुड बी अ फोर्स टू रेकन विद दिस सीजन, एटलीस्ट काफी सारे अपसेट्स तो पुल ऑफ कर ही सकते हैं।
यार इस सीजन भी they were the team to watch after what happened in
आफ्टर
the
यस
beginning of the season.
यस यस यस।
एडी हाउ ने बहुत अच्छे खिलाया उनको
नहीं
and just
नहीं,
look at what they did to Arsenal.
अबे आफ्टर दिसंबर व्हेन दे हैड देयर साइनिंग्स, उसके बाद भाई ट्रिपिया क्या खेला भाई, ट्रिपिया क्या खेला जब तक वो खेल रहा था। उसके बाद ब्रूनो, ब्रूनो क्या गजब खेला उनका।
हाँ ब्रूनो आर्सेनल को नॉकआउट कर दिया भाई चैंपियंस लीग से।
चलो,
So
अभी के लिए आई थिंक इट्स इनफ। Then we'll come again live, and hopefully we'll have more of these sessions. We'll have more videos coming soon on the channel. So if you watch this, please subscribe. We'll be trying to upload consistently. Up until then, it's goodbye from us. Me, Partha Joshi, Wali Siddiqui, and Anshuman at One United. We'll see you guys again very soon, hopefully, with some positive news regarding Manchester United and not a colossal failure of a season. Bye bye.